Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Software Success. I'm Ashley Jones from Designs and Machine Embroidery, and excited to be here with you today talking about software. You guys know us here. We love to talk all things software and help you get the most out of your program that you purchased from Dime. So I'm excited to be here. Tell me over in the chat where you're watching from, and let's see who we've got joining us here today. So we'll just give a little bit of time and let everybody pop in before we get started with the details. But I'm excited about the project that I have for you guys today. It was in response to a question that was on our Facebook user group. And so if you've ever had questions and gone over there for answers, our education team is over there and we answer questions. But I thought I could do the actual details on the software success for exactly how to accomplish the question that was asked on the Facebook group. So tell me over in the chat that you're here, that you're watching, and that you're excited to learn about software, right? So, Julie, thanks for joining from Michigan. So a bit chilly today. It's finally cooling off down here. I won't tell you my temperature in Florida if you like the warm. So, first timer. So thanks for joining, Artie. So good to see you. You guys are gonna you'll love this episode. If you have any of our Dime programs, we go through details for using them. And I can also answer your questions. So if you have them, make sure you're putting them over in the chat. So Terry, thanks for joining. Frequent flyer here. Excited to have you here. And then Artie says that she is from Lake Ranch, Texas. So thank you for joining. Good to see everybody. Starting to see a lot of familiar names. Thank you so much for joining, Laura, another one of our frequent flyers here. So good to see you from Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. Palma, also good to see you again. Thank you for joining. Sandra, hello from New York. Endicott, looks like New York. Barbara Jones, thank you so much for joining. Sunny and 71 here today in Houston. So that's actually a very comfortable temperature. I love the sound of that. Carol, thanks for joining. Carol, also in one of those colder areas. So in North Dakota. Good to see all of you guys. Thanks for being here. Dawn from Creative Appliques. Thanks for joining. Dawn, good to see you. We've got Susan from Fort Lauderdale. So Susan, you're not too far from me. Thanks for joining. And Jan from Northwest Florida. Thanks for joining. And Mary S. Larson, thank you for being here. Another one of our frequent flyers. Jackie Burke too. Hey, thanks for joining, Jackie in upstate New York. So many people here, and I'm so thankful that you guys are here and able to join us. I'm excited about my design today. So do you guys ever do something and you just really want to give yourself a pat on the back? I was just looking for things to do, and somebody asked a question on our Facebook user group, so I thought this would be a fun idea, and I think you guys are gonna love it. It turned out so cute. So thank you for joining, Reen. You guys know Reen over at Embroidery Gardens. So plaid, yes, that's what we're gonna do today. That was in response to a consumer question. So hey, Ain, thanks for joining. You guys know Ain, one of our educators here, and so glad that she could join. Judith from another Michigan viewer. So thanks for joining us here today. So Jill and Jennifer, thanks for joining, both of you. So good to see you. So lots of familiar names. So, okay, so today is going to be this cute little design you see on this image that's about to pop up here. So this today we are doing Perfect Embroidery Pro again. And I'm going to move on to my quilt embellisher for next month. But today, what I'm showing with Perfect Embroidery Pro, it actually has a lot of elements that are built into quite a few of our different software. So you'll maybe see some tools in some of the pieces that you own if you don't own Perfect Embroidery Pro. But I think you guys are going to love this. And everything was created with built-in tools. So it's really easy and fun. It's a really good learning tool, I think. So I just wanted to point out, so this is in response again to a question from our user group over on Facebook. So let me show you that group. So if you are not already a member of our Dime Inspiration Software user group, then go over there, click to join, and we'll accept you. And you can ask any questions on this page. You get answers from tons of knowledgeable users and even our education team. So you'll see all of our education team over there from time to time. So join this group. It's the best place to get how-to answers to your questions. Our customer service, they are fantastic, but I will tell you they answer hundreds of questions a day about product and software. So it's really a great place to get those how-to questions. And a lot of times you'll get more details over here because you'll get answers from several different users. So that's really nice, right? So join that group. Also, our YouTube channel, the Designs and Machine Embroidery YouTube channel, is another great place to get help. Not only can you review and rewatch these presentations that are software success, but there are tons of other videos here. If you go to the playlist, that's my favorite place to find things. Under the playlist, it's kind of a sorted set of videos, and you can see that they are grouped by like videos. And so all of the software success videos are all together if you click this option here. And also Between Friends, if you guys don't join Eileen every Thursday for Between Friends, it's another great place to learn about your software. She usually does a little snippet of software every single week. And also she has a project where she takes it even further. So check out there. Also, the other videos here, like the titles of the software, Cut and Stitch software, Perfect Embroidery Pro, Perfect Stitch Viewer. These are all videos on that particular program that you can go and access as well. So join our Facebook group, follow us over there on YouTube, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And so there's just lots of fun information. So now let's talk about creating this cute little pumpkin. So I'm going to open it again. So I'm going to do File, Open here, and I'm going to just open my little pumpkin design, and just to show you again what we're going to be working towards. So I'm going to be creating the pumpkin from built-in designs and fills, and then the text. We also had a question on our user group about making your text on a circle path like this or curved like this, and then how to get it to be at the top or the bottom. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So, but let's start with our pumpkin. So I'm going to start a new page. So I'm just going to click the new page icon here. And there are all kinds of designs that are built into any of your Dime software. So if you haven't already, I just urge you to just click around in your software. And in here in Perfect Embroidery Pro, for example, this particular icon here is called our text designs. So if I click this, it opens up a catalog of some built-in designs. And there's this category of charms, which are little miniature designs that you can use, but they can be resized. Here's some specialty individual letter fonts, and then some little shapes here, and then our subway designs as well. So those are all built into Perfect Embroidery Pro. But if you click the arrow next to that text designs icon, it brings a menu down that has monogram designs, motif shapes, and also applique shapes. So each of those are a catalog of designs. So in this case, these are frames that you can use to put a monogram or another design in the middle of. These motif shapes are shapes that can be used to fill another shape, and those are also in your motif fills, which we'll see here in just a bit. And then also the applique shapes, and that's what we're going to use today to start with. So I'm going to click on my applique shapes. So just so you know where I am, I'm up here in the top left by my text designs, and I've clicked on the arrow next to it to get this menu, and I'm going to click on applique shapes. Now, what I'm about to show you, you can do with any of these shapes. I just specifically chose the pumpkin because, well, it's that pumpkin time of year, right? So I'm going to say, okay. And it comes in as an applique embroidery design, but we're actually going to change that. So I'm going to select it and go over here to my sequence view, and I'm going to press the plus arrow so you can see. You see how it says it's an applique, but now I'm going to go to my effects panel, which is down here in the bottom right, the star, and I'm going to convert that to an artwork. So I'm going to do the filled artwork. Either one of these artworks will work, the outline or the fill, but the artwork that is filled shows better on the screen so that you can really see what's going on there. So I've got my pumpkin, but now I never like to do things the easy way. So instead of one solid pumpkin, I want the stem to be separate. But this particular pumpkin, it's together. So let's change our color. So I'm going to do a right mouse click on the orange color chip. Remember, the right mouse click assigns that color to your object. So I just changed it from the blue to the orange because that's what I think of when I think pumpkin. And then we're going to actually make this into two separate designs. So if I go over to my sequence view and push the plus, you can see that this is just one artwork object, and I want the stem to be separate. So I'm going to use the slice tool. So over here in the left, along my left hand side here, I'm going to click the knife, which is our slice tool, and I'm going to click this point at the base of the stem, and then I'm going to just drag my mouse to the other side. Now you can actually slice any area that you want. Do you see my cursor moving along whenever I want to do my slice? I can actually slice anywhere. And so I'm just want to slice from left to right or right to left here to make the stem separate. So once I've used the tool, you can either push the enter on your keyboard or do a right mouse click, and then it will complete your slice. But now we do need to do one more step, because notice over here, it still is only one object in my my sequence view here. So now I'm going to select with my select tool, and then I need to break it up. So break apart is going to separate these two objects on my sliced line. So there is the stem. I'm going to right mouse click on a color chip number 6 to assign that color chip. So now I've got my pumpkin in two different colors. So easy, right? So now I'm going to create the grid for my pumpkin here. So now for the plaid of my pumpkin, I'm going to be using an artwork rectangle. So I'm going to choose my artwork tool here, and then I'm just going to click and drag to create an artwork rectangle. And again, I'm going to go over here to my effects panel, and I can click to fill that. I just am doing that so you can see it really easily on the screen. It really doesn't matter if it's filled or just an outline in this particular case here. And so for the size of my rectangle, I want it to be 1/4 of an inch wide, but I want it to be really long. So I'm going to just move this over and select my pumpkin in the stem. And I'm going to go over here to my transform. And my entire pumpkin is almost 4 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. And I want to make sure that this is really far past that size so that I don't have to worry about it not filling my pumpkin. So I just over exaggerated this length. So I'm going to uncheck my maintain aspect ratio here. That means that I can change these two independently. So I'm going to do 1/4 inch wide, and I'm just going to be very generous and say 6 inches long. Now, I don't have to do it that long. I certainly could do a little bit less, but I just want to be safe than sorry. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a bit. So I see there are some questions already popping up so that they don't get too far. So I don't get too far behind. Let's see if we can answer just a few of those really quick. So I see here, Charlie Wood says, how does the connect path work? So I'm not sure where you're seeing connect path. I don't know if that was under my right mouse click or something that you're seeing. But maybe if you're talking about like path as in connecting your 2 points, closing the path maybe, but give me a little more detail where you're seeing connect path, because that's not ringing a bell off the top of my head. So, and I was sick last week and still a little bit, so I may still have a little bit of brain fog too. So, hey Jan, so thank you for joining. So she says, can you modify the applique shape such as alter the depth of the heart? Absolutely. So that's actually a really great question. So we're gonna see a little bit more on editing, but for those particular points, like in the case of the heart, if you choose your shape tool, any of those points, and your heart is going to have one of those points there. So in fact, let's just go up here and choose the heart. And those points can be moved with your shape tool. So if I grab that, is there a heart shape in here that we saw? Let's see. I'm thinking that they're in alphabetical order and I don't see one, maybe because there is a drawing. So, and if I'm missing it, I apologize. But when you choose your shape tool on any of the designs, then you're going to have these little nodes pop up, and those you can move with your shape tool. So I can just click one and then move it out of the way. So if this was that point in the heart, you could just click and drag that to the point that you want. And then when you press enter or right mouse click, it'll actually complete the action for you. And I'm going to do an undo because we want our pumpkin to remain the same. So hopefully that helps you there. So use your shape tool to move that as well. And then where do you find weld? In Perfect Embroidery Pro, weld is under your right mouse click. When you've got two artwork objects selected under shaping, and then there is weld for Perfect Embroidery Pro. And so that's under your right mouse click and shaping. So that was a really good question there. And so let's see what else we've got here. So Lindy says, can you only slice in a straight line? No, you can slice in a diagonal line or straight or, really any angle, but you're not slicing like a curve slice. If you want a curve slice, once you slice, then you can just edit those points. So what else do we have here? So JC Productions, thanks for joining. So what makes time so unique and so different from the rest of the embroidery software? So I'm assuming you mean Dime. So what makes Dime so unique? Well, I think of embroidery software like a brand of car. There are so many different makes and models. A lot of times we choose the one that we like because it has the features that we like. So some of it means that maybe it is user friendly, maybe it's the right kind of education for you. So you really just have to find what works best for you. I do think that our Dime software is one of the easiest to use, and you do get support directly from us here at Dime. So uh, and then Joyce says, Ashley, you definitely had your coffee this morning. Can you watch this again so you can go back and go a little slower, pausing and restarting? So, Joy, if this is your first time viewing, then you'll know it has nothing to do with my coffee. I talk this fast all the time, but I do try to make sure of what I'm pointing out. But you can rewatch it. Yes, absolutely. If you go to our YouTube channel, it'll replay. You can watch it. You can pause it as many times as you like. So I don't want to get too slow and make it too boring for some that need a little more of the speed, but you certainly can go back and pause where you need to. So, and then Charlie says, when you right click at the point of a node and it says connect path, is the method to connect to objects. So if I right click on the node and connect path, it's probably to connect those two. Since this is a closed point, then I don't have that option there. So if you're seeing that connect path option, Charlie. So right now, whenever I right mouse click on my nodes here, these are my options that I have under my node editing right mouse click menu. So, okay, so I think we're caught up on those questions. If I missed one, feel free to ask again. I do not mind answering all those questions. Okay, so now we've got our pumpkin. We split it with the slice tool. I've got my rectangle drawn, and I just drew this rectangle with my artwork tool. So we've used artwork ton of times already in Software Success, where we've got this drop down menu next to the artwork tool. Choose the shape that you want and then just click and drag to make that shape. Okay, so I'm just going to do my undo because I've already drawn my rectangle here. Now I want to repeat this rectangle across my pumpkin. So I'm going to use the repeat tool here on the toolbar. And this is going to just automatically pop up with 3 repeats across and down. So I really just need them to repeat across. And I'm going to space them the same width as my rectangle, which was 1/4 of an inch, so that I have uh, that 1/4 inch rectangle and that 1/4 inch spacing as well, just like that. Okay, so now remember the width of our pumpkin here is almost 4 inches wide, and I can actually see that. I know that your video, it may be blocked with the live word at the top left, but up at the top I can actually see the width of my pumpkin. So whenever I click this a cross arrow here and I keep adding more, I can watch it change the size down here below. So right now we're at 2.24, and I can go up as wide as I need. So that right there would get me all the way across my pumpkin. And if I wanted to add an extra one, maybe that probably would be a good safe bet. And then I'm going to click apply and then okay, and it adds that to my workspace. Now, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to back up and do something else. So I'm just going to slide this out of the way for a second. And I'm going to choose my pumpkin, and I'm going to resize it a little bit smaller. Now, the reason I'm resizing is just for the sake of time on the screen, because we're going to do this plaid and I'll need to edit these bars. So I want it to just go quicker, but you can resize it to whatever you want. Remember to resize your design over here in your transform. You can enter an exact size, but let me give you another tip. You can actually resize based on your hoop. So if you click over here in the bottom left, the hoop icon, you have a list of machine hoops. You can filter those hoops if you like by only putting a check mark next to the ones that you own for your embroidery machine here. Okay, so if you only check the ones for your machine, then your list will be shorter to go through. But I use all of them because I show this software to a lot of different people, brands, machines, things like that. Now, another tip that I can give you for choosing your hoop, notice that these are named with the millimeters. So Baby Lock Brother 100 by 100, 130 by 180. But if you don't know the millimeters and you would rather see the inches, when you click on the hoop up here above the little image of the hoop, you can see that it tells you in inches the sewing field. So this particular 130 by 180 hoop is 5.1 by 7.1. So we refer to that as our 5 by 7 hoop. I'm going to click apply. That's going to add that to the workspace here. And I am going to do, I'm actually going to try something. So I'm going to do this auto fit. So here underneath the hoop, we have this option that says auto fit, where it will either enlarge or reduce the size of the design to make it fit in a 5 by 7 hoop. I think when I click auto fit, it's going to auto fit even my vertical lines there, and that's not what I want, but let's try it and see. So I'm going to do auto fit, and it did. You see how it popped everything into that 5 by 7 hoop? So I'm going to do an undo, and just for now, I'm going to select my vertical lines, and I'm just going to cut, and that'll remove them from the screen. So now let's select this and do auto fit again so you can see what happens. So you can see that it makes it bigger to fill that 5x7 hoop via the width. Now, if I go back and I choose the 100 by 100, which is the 4x4 or 3.9 by 3.9, click apply, and then close that out and do the auto fit, you can see that it shrinks it down so that it will stitch within that hoop that I have chosen. That auto fit feature is a Perfect Embroidery Pro feature, and it can be found right under that little hoop icon there. So if you didn't know it was there, it's a really nice feature to have. So, okay, so now that I've resized this smaller, and that's really what I was doing, I just went around about a long way to do it. I'm going to do my paste, and that's going to put my vertical lines back on the screen. Okay. So now I've got my vertical lines. I'm going to copy and paste them, copy, paste, and then I'm just going to rotate them 90 degrees. Now you could rotate just 45. Do you see that pattern that you're getting from that rotation? But I did rotate mine 90 to create this particular effect here. And I'm going to change that color to that different green there just to let you see what is going on. So now what I've done is I've created that kind of plaid effect there. So now I'm going to select my pumpkin and I'm going to bring that over in my plaid area here. And I actually let me do one more thing here. So I'm actually going to select everything that's blue and green. So, and I'm going to do another rotate. So I'm going to rotate this whole grid on the 45. And I kind of like the look of that. So pretty cute, right? Okay, so now let's go and we're going to crop the grid to the pumpkin so that it's only within the pumpkin shape. So I'm going to choose my pumpkin. The easiest way to do that is from your sequence view over here and click on the pumpkin, and I'm going to bring that to the front, and then I can crop all of those lines to my pumpkin. So you can see why I made those so long. I just wanted to make sure I had enough room in there to whenever I rotated that I was definitely within the grid. And you could always move your pumpkin around a little bit if you wanted to make sure that it started like right on the edge or wherever. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my blue and green rectangles and the pumpkin. And I just held down my control key and I selected all three of those layers in my sequence view over here. You can see how they're blue. Control key and click the layers that you want, which is the rectangles and the pumpkin. And now I'm going to do a right mouse click, and under the utility option, we're going to use crop. Just like that. Was that easy or what? Now I'm going to double click my zoom tool to zoom back in. Okay, so now I've got my plaid design inside my pumpkin, but if we look over here in my sequence view, there are no stitches. This is all just artwork. Okay. And so now I'm going to group these together. The blue and the green, that's all of my grid. So I'm just going to click just so I don't accidentally separate either of them. I select the blue one, press group, select the green, and then press group. And then now they just stay all together. And it looks really nice and neat over here in my sequence view as well. Okay. So let's see if we have any other questions or comments. So Linda Garrison, I see that you said that you're sorry you're late. You can certainly rewatch the program from the beginning, and you can also rewatch as many times as you like over on the YouTube channel. So, okay, it looks like everybody's good. I don't see any new questions that I can tell there, but if you do have any, make sure you ask over in the chat. So basically, for anybody that's late, what we've done so far is we have a pumpkin shape, and we've made these rectangles, and we cropped the artwork to the rectangle to get kind of our plaid effect. Now let's, I'm just going to change the colors of these particular ones. So for the blue, I'm going to click on my blue chip, and I'm going to change this to a lighter orange color. And then for the green, I'm going to click on color chip number 6, and I'm going to make that a darker orange color for my pumpkin. And then for my stem, I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to do a right mouse click on color chip number 3 to assign that to green. Okay, so now we've got our pumpkin, and we're ready to start turning it into stitches. So for the stem, I'm going to select the stem, and I'm going to go over to my effects panel in the bottom right where the star is, and I'm going to make that a fill stitch. So you can either turn that into a fill stitch, or I'm going to do an undo. You could resize this and make it a satin if you want. It's really too wide for a satin at this point. If I do a right mouse click on my ruler bar, I'm going to switch to metric, and I can use my ruler to measure the distance there. So that is just over 10 millimeters. So for a satin stitch, that is wider than I'm going to want to stitch on my embroidery machine. But what you could do is you could actually make this narrower for the stem if you want, and then you could turn that into a satin stitch if you like. So if I choose my satin option there, and then you can see what it does is it just does the best it can, and you can see all those different directions, but the satin split there is what's making that do it. So if I choose my shape tool and I'm going to turn off my 3D, do you see all these little lines? We actually talked about this last week. So these yellow ones are the angle lines. The turquoise color is a split line. So if I do a remove or delete the split line, it'll remove that. And when I right mouse click, you can see that it regenerates it. And the same thing here, if I right mouse click and delete the split line, then it's going to fix that for me. But then I've got this angle line here that kind of goes off, and then there and here. So if I bring that over, and now you can see we've got that as a satin stitch. So I'm going to double click my zoom tool to zoom out. So if you want it to be the satin stitch, or if you would prefer it be a fill stitch, select it and then click on the fill option in the effects panel here. So I'm going to leave it fill because I'm going to show you something else that works well with the fill a little bit later. And now let's start working on our grid here. So for the grid, I'm going to go over to my sequence view, and I'm going to select the one of the layers. I'll start with the first one there, and I'm going to go over, and the fill that I'm going to be using is actually the shape fill here. And I'm going to just draw a rectangle. So if you missed the artwork rectangle, click your drop down, choose the rectangle, and draw a rectangle shape. That's how we created this grid here. And then we just did a repeat. But I want to show you over here off to the side what this fill does and what it looks like. So there's all kinds of fill options. We're going to be using the shape fill. So if I click, you can see that it looks like a circle. And if I make that wider, you can see more of the circle fill. And you can change that pattern based on this drop down. So right now it's set to a circle. You can do the square, the oval, or all these unique shapes, the hexy. But I'm just using this circle option here, the round fill. And I want to point out what is going to happen. We're going to be working with the rectangles as small, narrow rectangles. So you're going to only see that center part of the fill like this. And I really don't want this circle. I just want these lines to fill up my shape. So take a look at this. This is actually something that you might not know. When you have these shape fills selected, like I do here, and I go back to my shape tool, all of these little colored shapes pop up. So the red is the stop, the yellow is the start, or green is the start point, and this kind of magenta or purple color, depending on what it looks like on your screen, is the center of where this is going to start. So notice if I move this and I do my right mouse click and do an update, you can see that it moves the center of the circle there. So what we're going to be doing with these shapes is I don't want any circle. I just want these really nice generated lines here for my stitching. So watch what happens when I move my center out of my design. You can see that it's just the lines. You don't get the center circle anymore. If I move it in and then I regenerate that, you can see the circle. So that's what we're about to do here. And I just wanted to show you outside of the box so that it makes more sense. Okay. So I'm going to remove that and I'm going to select my two colors there, the dark and the lighter orange of my plaid. I'm going to go over to my effects panel and we're going to choose this one that says shape, and it does the job for me. I'm going to be leaving it for the circle one here. And I did kind of tighten up my density to a 1, and it puts my stitches a little bit closer together. And actually that may be a little too tight. So I'm going to do 1.5. And I kind of like that. Okay, so now let's go back over here and I'm going to hide one layer first just so our eyes don't go crazy. So I'm going to do hide here. And then now let's take a look at what we've got going on here. So you can see that each of those have those circles in them. So we're going to choose our shape tool and we're going to click on one of these rectangles and we're going to move this purple or whatever color dot that is outside of your line so that you only have these lines here. So outside of your object or your shape. So I'm just moving that up on each one of these. I'm clicking it with the shape tool and I'm just moving it out of the shape so that the center point is further out and I'm only seeing these external rings. So, and the reason I'm doing this is because if you do a fill, you'll see the underlay. So this gives you this really nice smooth look here. The next thing I might do, it's joining at like the closest point. So what I would do is move my start stitch and my stop stitch so that it just starts and zigzags down. And since it ended here, so that your machine doesn't move as much, I would probably start down here and then move up here and do your enter or your update, your right mouse click, and the same thing. I'm going to start up here and then I'm going to put the stop at the opposite. So that is the point at which this particular, and then I forgot where it did. So I need to go back over here. So we ended over here. So I need to start down here, just like that, and stop up here, and then start up here and stop down here. Okay. So you're just making it stitch out in a better order. So hopefully that makes sense. So isn't that cute? I love that. And so if you watch your slow redraw, so there's your stem and then it's going to do each of those. The other thing that this does is this connecting stitch is going to put it under the edge of like your satin stitch that we can put around the edge. So now let's do the same thing with the next layer. Okay, so I'm going to hide the one that we just did just so it's not too confusing. I'm going to choose my shape tool. And first I want to see, let's see which direction this goes. So it starts up there on the top left. So let's do our shape tool. Click on this one here and I'm going to start at the bottom and stop here at the top. And then since we're stopping up here, let's do my start over here. Now notice I just even changed sides with that. So this was over here. I can click and drag to even change to the opposite side. And I'm going to stop down here just like that. And we're going to move those as well out of the way. So since we stopped down here, so we want to bring this down and end up here. And the same thing goes here. So we ended. So we want to start, stop. You guys get the idea, right? So we're just making it stitch out in a little bit better order than just by leaving it jumping in the center there. So, and you can always go back and check this and see if I messed up. So we're going to start, stop, and see I messed this one up. So it needs to start down over here and stop up here. So just like that. Okay. So you guys get the idea. I'm not going to go through all of those again and again. So you just put that in an order where it's going to stitch a lot nicer. And then now we need to move that point. So we need to move that outside of our box so that we don't have that circle in the center. That pink dot or magenta, whatever color you see it as, it designates the center of this fill, this circle fill. So I'm moving it so that the center is outside of the box. and so that you don't have those center circles. So isn't that cute? So now I'm going to turn that on, the layer that I hid. And so now we have our plaid fill. Now, of course, this stitch here, if I had finished working with the start and stop, it would have taken this around. And so yours will not have that there. So if you need to adjust yours, feel free to do so. And then the last thing we have is this outline. So the outline right now is still an artwork. So if I select the outline of my pumpkin and I go over to my effects panel here, and I'm just going to turn that into a still stitch. The still stitch in our software is a column stitch. You guys probably call it a satin stitch, but it is a column stitch that's the same width all the way around. And now I'm going to actually make that a little bit narrower. So, because I do feel like it overpowers my plaid a little bit. So I'm going to make my width a 2 millimeter instead of the 3 millimeter to give it a little bit different look. So isn't that cute? So that's how you can create plaid. Now, if you want to go through the making it different colors, things like that, you could always make these alternate to stitch underneath and over. There's all kinds of things that you could do with it there. So I'm going to do the minus key here and then just go back to just my colors that I have on the screen. And now let's add that bow. And that bow is one of the built-in designs here. So if I go back to my text designs up here in the top left and click, it'll open up the catalog. I use these quite often. So because you can edit these, you can scroll down through here and look for whatever you need. So I'm looking for a bow to put on the top of my pumpkin. So here's one in this little rattle, and I could edit this and delete everything except for the bow. So that's a possibility. But if I keep looking to see if there's something else, there's a bow here that I could edit out if I need it. One here, but here's one all by itself. So we'll just go with that. I'm going to say, okay. And there is my bow. And I'm going to, let's see if it's grouped. It comes in grouped. So that's good. So I'm going to put it right over my pumpkin there. And then let's change those colors. Now, I'm going to click down here on my color chip. So the lighter color of the bow, it's kind of a peachy color. Now I made mine like a mint kind of color. So I'm going to go choose that color here. And then for the outline of that, I made it just a little bit darker of that kind of a teal color, just like that. And there you have it. That's pretty cute, right? I love that. Now, let's see if we have any questions, and then I will talk to you about removing those overlapping stitches, because I know somebody's already typing that question in the in the comments, I bet. So, okay, so let's see if we have any questions. So Teresa says, couldn't you auto digitize? Absolutely, you could auto digitize, but not every image is good for auto digitizing. And in this case, I didn't even have an image. So I was creating from just the image in my head. But yes, if you've got an image, you certainly could use the auto digitizer. But as you guys know, that sometimes it doesn't produce the exact look you're going for. And this gives you the ability to use some of your built-in tools. So and then Shug says, which software includes the true type fonts? So I'm trying to think here. A good portion of them do. I can't list every single one, but we do have true type fonts in Perfect Embroidery Pro. You can use them in our cut and stitch. I think in Patch and Applique Maker, the Lace Maker. There's quite a few of them that will use the true type fonts. Also Word Art and Stitches. So there's several different ones that will use true type fonts in your program. So if you have a specific program, I can check for you to make sure that you see it in there. So, because sometimes it's hard to remember. We've got so many of them. Excuse me. Still a little bit of cough left. Okay, so, and then Palma says, I can not click on an object in the sequence and move it. It does not work. So, if you are having trouble moving it, double check that the lock is not on. So, I'm going to eat this. I apologize so that I don't keep, excuse me. So, over in your sequence view, so if we could bring the software back up here, over in the sequence view, Palma, if you have this lock on, it may not let you move things around. So make sure that that lock is on. So can we get the software screen added to the image so we can see what we're talking about here? Thank you. Okay, so over here, there's a little lock and an I and the plus and minus. Just make sure the lock is not locked because when it's locked, you kind of can't do anything to your design. So double check that because then once that's off, you should be able to move it around just like you were trying to do. And then how do you center a shape in the hoop? We don't really work in the hoop a lot. It's really just a excuse me, it's just kind of a visual. And so if you start in the center of your workspace, you can do a right mouse click and choose center of origin for everything that you have selected. So if I select everything, do a right mouse click and say center origin, that'll put it 0 and 0, and that would be the center. But even if you're not exactly center, when you save from our software, it's going to come up on your machine in that center of the hoop position. On your embroidery machine. But you can do a right mouse click and say center origin, and that will be in the center of your workspace. So that's a really good question. Um, let's see what other questions we may have here. So Mary Larson says, would the optimize entry and exit points change this in the same way? So you can use the optimize entry and exit, and it does have a built-in formula to try to make that stitch out in the best order. But I will tell you that the more you create designs and the more you watch a really good digitizer's design stitch out, you may want something completely different than what the software is producing for you, but you certainly could use those to see if it gives you the results that you want, Mary. That's a really good question. And what Mary's referring to is under the edit, we have this option. It's grayed out. Anytime something is grayed out, you might not have something selected or something on your workspace that it works with, but the optimize sequence and the optimize entry and exit, it's going to try to do the best it can with the design. And so the optimize entry and exit, it usually tries to join at the closest point. And in this case, I kind of wanted it to run around the edge. So that's the reason I didn't choose it. But I can't lie, I do usually go to this and try it. And if it doesn't do how I want it to, and then I can manually move it around. So that's what Mary's referring to. That's a really good question, Mary. Okay, so let's see if we have anything else before we go back. And so Cheryl from Virginia says, is this technique similar to the sketch designs? To me, when I think of the sketch designs, it is a run stitch, but it's usually filling the whole shape, and it's kind of a random kind of sketch, almost like you just did it with a pencil. But you certainly can use this fill to fill this entire shape if you wanted to. And it would just be a run stitch all the way through, but just not random. It's very, predictable through there, but you could certainly use it there for a really lightweight fill. That's a really good option for sure. So, okay, so now let's go back over. So the next thing that I want to show you is the remove overlap. So when you have an object that overlaps other objects, a lot of times we don't want the stitches to stitch underneath. In this case, honestly, I would not mind if the plaid stitches stay because they're really loosely dense stitches, so it would be okay. But I don't think I want this satin column stitch underneath my bow, and I might not want this to be double fill stitches here. So if I select the bow and I do a right mouse click and I choose utility and remove overlaps, it actually takes the design that's on top and it cuts out everything underneath that it can. I do not know why it doesn't remove that particularly. And so, but I'm going to show you how to manually do it. I actually have asked this question as far as, why doesn't it just move that? So, and I don't know. But if I actually, I'm going to do undo and I'm going to do undo. So it puts it right back where it needs to be. Okay. So now for that column stitch, if you want to remove that, it's actually really easy to do. So what I would do is select your shape tool. Notice we've select the shape tool a ton in this particular demonstration. And I'm going to select just the outline. And notice each of those points, those are the points that make up the outline. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up from here to here so that I can just delete this section. So if I do a right mouse click on one of these points, it doesn't matter which one you start with, and I'm going to say split line, and then I can select that point and move it out of the way. So do you see how now it's broken right there because I did a split line? So what I'm going to do is click on it and just press the delete. And this is my stop option. So I'm just going to move my start and stop out of the way here. And in fact, I probably want it to start on one side and then continue around and end over here. So then I'm going to click on this point, press delete, click on this point, press delete. And now it's right here at the edge of my bow. I'm going to move my stop here. And then I'm going to do my enter. And then let's hide that bow. So over here in my sequence view, you can see that basically we just chopped that part of the bow underneath the bow out. And now if I do an undo, you can see that it puts it back. And the reason I left my bow turned on is because then I can see exactly where I want to break that. But let's hide it. Choose the shape tool and click on this point. And I didn't do enough undos to put all of it back, but this is what we are removing, is this part right here that was under the bow. So now I'm just going to do my redo, and then we can see there's our gap, put my bow back so then I don't have anything underneath that. So really easy, and that's the remove overlap option there for removing those stitches underneath. So really easy, right? Okay, so the last thing that I think that I have that I want to show you is in also answering a question from the user group. So I'm going to choose my text tool and I'm going to click on the screen to add text. And I'm going to type in my text. I'm just going to type in hello pumpkin. So we had the question about adding the text and putting it on the circle path. So I'm going to use the type over here in my properties area to switch to circle and click apply. And it puts my text on the circle path there. And that looks pretty cute, right? And the question was about having the text on the top or the bottom of the circle and how to move it from one to the other. Okay. So if you've got your text on one line, if you want this text to be on the bottom of your circle, choose the reverse direction option and click apply, and it'll just put it right on the bottom. If you uncheck the reverse direction and click apply, it'll put it right back to the top. If you want it on two separate lines, if you want hello on the top and pumpkin on the bottom, just hit the enter key and put that on two separate lines there and click apply, and it'll put it on the top and the bottom. And then I would use these little shapes here to kind of drag that in closer to my pumpkin if you want. And I really think it looks cute all on the top. So I'm going to, and look at that. I misspelled a word. Did somebody telling me that over in the chat? I left my P out. Look at that underline. You can see on my screen there that it's got a red line under it. That means that I've misspelled the word, or it thinks that I have. And then I can do a right mouse click and it gives me some options. So I can do pumpkins, but I don't want the S, and I'm going to click apply for hello pumpkin so that it is spelled correctly. So isn't that adorable? So that is just another answer to a question on the Facebook group there. So, and let's see here what questions we have before we finish up. If you have a question, if you put the question marks in front of it, it definitely makes me easier to pick them out. JC Production says Adobe has created a lot of things with artificial intelligence. Do you feel that Dime or any other embroidery software is going to start doing the same thing with auto digitizing? So You never know. That would be super cool to be able to just tell the software. If you guys are unfamiliar with AI, artificial intelligence, where you just tell it what you want and then it auto generates. But at this time, I don't know, but that would be super cool. That's a really good question. I love that. Okay, so another question from Shug says, "Are all of the features you are using today available in PEP?" Yes, they are. So all in Perfect Embroidery Pro. Some of them are over in the other, like My Quilt Embellisher does have some of these features as well, and a variety of other the programs. But I'm really using everything in Perfect Embroidery Pro today. So absolutely. And then creative appliques, how do you adjust the stitch angle of the design? So if you are using the fill stitches, so if I've got, let's just take our pumpkin shape here, and I'm going to copy it and paste it to another page just so we can see it all by itself. So for the, oh, and I forgot I broke all that up. So that's actually not even cute anymore anyway. So let's just go back and just choose one of our applique shapes, and then we'll choose the fill. So let's just do like this little kitty cat here. Okay, so if I go over here and I add the fill to adjust the angle of the stitches, that is your shape tool. And that's the same tool that we've used a lot today. I'm going to make this cat a lighter color so we can see it. If you click on your shape tool, you'll see all of those little nodes there, the red and the green, the start and stop, but that yellow line that runs through there, that's your angle of your stitches. So if I turn off my 3D view, you can see that yellow a lot brighter. So I can click and drag that line to a different angle. And when I hit enter or either a right mouse click, it'll change the angle of those stitches. So hopefully that helps you, Dawn, with changing the angle there. And then Mary says, what program is this? I'm using Perfect Embroidery Pro today, Mary, but I know that My Quilt Embellisher does have the shape tool. It does have the ability to make an applique, and it does have that shape fill, so you could do most everything that we're doing today also with My Quilt Embellisher. It has most of the features built in, and the shape tool is in some of our other dime programs as well. So, and then Carol says, will PEP or other software ever get a sketch stitch fill? So that's actually a great question, Carol. And as you guys know, here at Dime, we are always adding new features, coming up with new software ideas. So yes, I mean, the possibility is there that you would have a new fill. Just always make sure you keep your software up to date, because if we do add new features, then of course you will see that pop up in an update. So really good question. So okay, I think I have covered everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed making that cute little pumpkin. We talked about other ways that you can find help over on our YouTube channel and our Facebook group. So make sure that you join there. And so make sure that you do follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's going to make sure you get notifications whenever we go live. So take a look at this short video of how to do that in case you don't know.
In this video, we'll show you how to subscribe to a YouTube channel and follow a Facebook page through your phone. Let's start with YouTube. First, open your YouTube app on your phone. Once you're on your home page, search for the Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Click on it and go to the channel page. Once on the channel page, click the subscribe button, and that's it. You're now subscribed to the channel. Now, let's move on to Facebook. First, open your Facebook app. Once on your home page, search for Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Once on the profile page, click the three dots and select the follow button. And that's it. You're now following the page. Thanks for watching.
Awesome. So don't forget to do that. Now, I did see one more question as I was reading back. The video gave me time to read a few more questions. And so Lindy, I think it was, asked about when we were talking about the satin of the stem, if you could carve stitches into the satin to kind of split it up. And so for that is really like a split satin design. So I'll show you on text, but you certainly can create a split satin in the software. But the easiest way for me to show you this is on the text and under the column settings. So the split satin option here is a percentage. I've actually shown this in a different demonstration, but you can adjust the split. So if you want it to split right down the center there, and if I click and drag this much larger and I change the color, lighter seems to show better on the screen. So you can see that little indentation that's happening right there. Because the stitches are so wide and it is splitting that satin for me. So yes, you can do that with your column stitches in your properties under your satin column settings. You can put that setting to be either percentage and absolute, or it can be random to blend your satin stitches. I'm just showing on text because it's the easiest, but you certainly can do it on others as well. So another great question. Okay, so the next time I see you will be on November the 7th on the next Software Success, and we are going to talk about my quilt embellisher. So my quilt embellisher is one of Dime's programs that allows you to create custom quilting designs with built-in fills or built-in designs. So you can take a built-in block, add a customized quilt filled, and then you've got a really custom design for your quilt. So we're going to talk about how you can get started with my quilt embellisher whenever we come back here on November the 7th. So that will be the next time I see you and for Software Success. So today I was using Perfect Embroidery Pro. And as always, check with your local Dime Inspiration software dealer for the best price on any of our Dime software. But you certainly can check that out on our site too to purchase Perfect Embroidery Pro. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this presentation and thank you so much for joining. So until we have another software success, I will see you next time.